Welcome to the last session. And in the last session, we will look at the final supreme teaching of the Gita. Let's play this final stanza from Adi Shankara. That's Hindustani classical music. Just wanted you to have an exposure to Pandit Jasraj. It's not easy to sing like that. This is where the swara comes out, and it's not just the music, the context, the verse being sung. This is the last verse of the Atma Shatkam. And if you notice in the previous 5 verses, it was more in terms of negation that he was expressing who he was. Now he is asserting positively, I am beyond attributes. Aham nirvikalpo nirakara rupa. Formlessness is my form. I am everywhere, the subtle essence beneath all senses. Stable in equipoise, I neither seek liberation nor get bound. So this is one stage of self-realization. According to some philosophies, this is the highest stage, but I believe the Gita points to a higher stage than this. This is the stage of Akshara Brahman. This is stage of Nirvana. You may have heard that in some philosophies there is a concept of Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, which is, when you get into this state, it's a state of fulfillment, it's a state of being. Sometimes living in the messy world becomes kind of meaningless. It's an illusion. So that's not where we want to go. That's not where even Krishna wants Arjuna to go. So even in Buddhist philosophy, there is a school of thought which says Nirvana is the highest state, that the journey of evolution is from samsara to Nirvana. But there's still a higher stage of discovery where Nirvana is samsara, where Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam, where Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So then the challenge is to bring heaven on earth, and that is the exercise hinted at in the 7th chapter by Para Prakriti, the higher nature. But the entry to that is clearly mentioned through this. So we have to discover the stillness in us. We have to be in a state of stable equipoise. That's a Sthita Prajna state. In the last class, Arul had mentioned about being always aware of the silence, the stillness that is ever present, and not to lose it. And that keeps you connected, that keeps you yukta. But sometimes people who subscribe entirely to this philosophy believe that the nirakara is everything, that the formless, the divine is formless. That's one school of thought. But there are other schools which say there's something missing here. What do you think is missing here if you stay only by this? Apart from the purpose and meaning of existence, something is missing here. What is missing here? Something that gives an ananda which is beyond this ananda. What is that? Yes? Yeah, it is love. So you will find that to discover that ananda that you get from love, you have to have necessarily, you can't have that kind of intimacy with something formless. So Nirguna Brahman cannot generate those feelings, those rich feelings of deep intimacy and affection. So you have always room for different understandings of the ultimate Godhead. The formless is one and it has its place. But form, in form, and that too not one form, multifarious forms, forms that you choose to like, your Ishta Devata. So Ishvara is of that kind. So there, the moment you talk of love, it has to be a personal relationship. It cannot be, you cannot love something impersonal. And that brings in the dimension of Purushottama. That's a higher dimension. And then of course there's purpose in what you do, so karma also comes in. Sri Ramakrishna was the one who has experienced all these dimensions. And actually he was a great source of inspiration to Sri Aurobindo himself. The concept of Vijnanam, which very few interpreters of the Gita have fully understood. The Vijnani is superior to the Jnani, because the Vijnani is the one who is not only realized Akshara Purusha, but has gone beyond and is one with the Purushottama, which means he is now in the realm of Para Prakriti. So a Shakti is manifesting through that being. So Sri Ramakrishna gives this larger interpretation of the Godhead. I say, let one man meditate on God with form if he believes in form, and let another meditate on the formless absolute if he does not believe in form. It is not good to feel that my religion alone is true and other religions are false. I say this because one cannot know the true nature of God unless one realizes Him in all aspects, in an integral way. Do you know what the truth is? God has made different religions to suit different aspirants, different times and different countries, and has appeared in different avatars. All doctrines are only so many paths, but a path is by no means God. The map is not the territory. In Zen philosophy, they have a wonderful saying, look at the finger pointing to the moon and you will miss the moon. So there are many fingers that can point to the moon. The moon is out there. There are many paths that are possible. Okay, so this is the last session, so we'll quickly take a review of all that we've covered. There are 18 chapters in the book. The first chapter we discussed the setting and purpose of the Gita. What's the purpose of the Gita, in your view? Was the Gita written for some Arjuna out there or for you? Yeah, for you. It's perennial teaching and it has many purposes. This is something you have to reflect on. The setting is a domain of conflict where you really need it, but in conflict, unless you're well prepared, well trained, you won't know how to perform at your optimal best. So that's why when there's no conflict, if you can do the groundwork, the training, when the conflict comes, you can handle it much better. What is that quote from Kabir? Dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. Jo sukh mein sumiran kare, to dukh kahe ko hoy. So really, when the crisis comes, you will be well prepared to face it. And the crisis can come in many forms. We have the whole story of Arjuna's dejection, his arguments in his defense. Then we looked at death and immortality, asat and sat, deha and dehi, very, very important concepts. In the last session, or probably the session before that, I talked about Krishna's fundamental advice to Arjuna, especially when Arjuna says, look, the mind is very difficult to control, it's impossible. And Krishna says, yes, it is difficult, but it's not impossible. You have to do it, but what are the means of doing it? Abhyasena Vairagyena. So without that, you can't do it. And he gives the advice that be nirashraya if you want to discover being nityatripta. Nityatripta means always feeling fulfilled. So nirashraya is really not having ashraya on anything that is asat. And if you look at it, all that we want for our happiness, all the conditions are all belonging to the realm of the asat. All are unreliable, transient, not dependable. Anything can happen. Things can catch fire, as something happened that our studio people know. Everything got burnt. It happens. But the Dehi will never get burnt. The Deha only will get burnt sooner or later. And so our real problem is a problem of misidentification, a sense of giving value to things that really will not give us the happiness we seek. So it's a shift from asat to sat, from Deha to Dehi that we need. Then we spoke extensively of the need to be internally calm, the Sthita Pratnya, 17, 18 verses which cover this topic. Then we looked at action and inaction, sin and Swadharma. He who knows the secret of action and inaction, he knows everything. And the ultimate state of action is actually inaction. It's called Naishkarmyam, when there's no longer the notion of the doer and a higher power flows through you. Then the concept of Swadharma, what is your Swadharma, what is your true Swabhava, or are you taking up Paradharma? We are brainwashed into doing many things that we don't resonate with. Then there's this huge issue of desire and indiscrimination. You remember those verses, how we get into indiscrimination? I think I have a slide here. Thinking of sense objects, dhyayata vishayan pumsaha, sangas teshu pajayate, gives rise to attachment. What's the next one? Sangat sanjayate kamaha, then desire springs up. Then if desire is not fulfilled, and often it is not, krodha, kamat krodha abhijayate, and then krodhat bhavati sammohaha, you get into delusion. It's true, when you feel the heat of anger, you lose your cool and you get all muddled up. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha, you get into confused memory. Smriti bhramshad buddhi nashaha, your discrimination is lost. Buddhi nashat pranashyati, and you can get into complete ruin. This is the slow motion process of fracture mechanics. This is a process zone, and it's very difficult to correct yourself at these stages, but it's probably easier to do it here. Then we saw the power of the chariot analogy and how ideally everything should be controlled from the spirit, the soul, the center within you, which actually guides your intellect, and the intellect in turn guides the manas. The buddhi guides the manas controls the 5 horses, the 5 indriyas, and then that's how you interact with the world outside. But this is not true for the vast majority of us. It's the reverse process, and we get into the Kurukshetra. So the world governs us, it attracts us, repels us, and this pulls our mind, and the mind pulls the buddhi, and we are disconnected with the soul. So it's a complete reversal of the normal nature that we live in, which is the promise of, which is what the Gita advocates. And the purpose of conflicts, if you recall these powerful lines from Sri Abdul Kalam, difficulties in your life do not come to destroy you, but to help you realize your hidden power and potential. We are all born with a divine fire in us, and our efforts should be to give wings to this fire and fill the world with the glow of its goodness. And then we got into the 7th chapter, self-control, meditation, and regulated action. The hint given here is to follow the path of the Raja Yoga, the Ashtanga Yoga. We gave an alternative 10-stage meditation path. The Gita is quite open in this. You can do what you want, but you must attain the state of absolute inner peace, connectedness, stillness, alertness, joy, ability to stay absorbed on any object of interest that you have. and get into the silent mind where you can receive higher intuitions. That's the whole process. And then we came into what is the ideal way of acting. What is Karmayoga essentially? Karmayoga is, at its highest stage, Nishkama karma. That means you do out of a sense of, you can't help but do what needs to be done and do that to absolute perfection, not for any narrow self-interest, though you may initially be guided by all that. But even then, the best thing to do is to consecrate your actions. So that will absolve you of the karma bandhan. So you do that by treating all work as sacrifice, as yajna. Then we got into understanding the three gunas and the delusion of doership. It's a huge one. It's very difficult for most people to get out of it. The whole Jnana Yoga is all about seeing clearly that you are not the doer. Ahankara vimuhudatma kartaham iti manyate. And then the whole concept of Purusha, there are three levels of Purusha: Kshara, Akshara, Uttama. And Prakriti, you have lower nature, Apara Prakriti, and higher nature, Para Prakriti. And then we looked at how the gunas operate in different domains, in Tyaga, in offerings, Yajna, Dana, Tapas. And you know this, Tamas is fundamentally governing the physical part of our being, Rajas, the vital part, Sattva, the mental part. We saw Tamas is both the opposite of Rajas and Sattva. Opposite of Rajas in the sense, no new action, no innovation, dull, and opposite of Sattva because it's deluded, dark, whereas this is lucid and clear. I like this picture. I use it in the self-awareness course. Which country's flag is this? Germany, but that's by the way. I wanted a flag with three colors representing the three gunas. You can choose Tamas, Rajas and Sattva. And we are constantly caught in this, the play of the three gunas. It's always fluttering. Our lives are always fluttering. The composition is never steady. And if you want to really be grounded or rooted or anchored in something that is totally reliable, you need to discover Purusha. So the challenge in life is how to engage with life's challenges skillfully and joyously with love and compassion, staying anchored in peace and wisdom. For that, we need to get to connect with the flag post, which is steady, which doesn't flutter, and which is our access into higher nature. So that's a very simple analogy. And Eckhart Tolle said this beautifully: when you lose touch with inner stillness, you lose touch with yourself. When you lose touch with yourself, you lose yourself in the world. Your inmost sense of self, of who you are, is inseparable from stillness. You can be pretty sure of this. Whenever you are overexcited, you've lost it. You're likely to have a vital element coming into whatever you do. But if there is stillness, you're protected. Be pretty sure about that. So, some of us are restless all the time. That restlessness is good in the sense you are capable of doing things in the world. Even higher nature needs that kind of energy. But deep down, you must be connected to stillness. If you're not connected. So stillness is the key, and actually there are moments where you're entirely content just being still, doing nothing. In yesterday's Gita class, by the way, if those of you are interested, you can come for our Wednesday classes. One of the participants talked about the problem of dealing with idleness in life. So we discussed that. If you're on this path, there's no time to be idle really. The moments when you have free time are ideally the best moments for you to focus entirely on your sadhana, on doing meditation, on being yukta. There's no better time. You've got absolute freedom to do it. And so, you look forward to it. You look forward to time. So I asked this question, what will happen to you people when you cross the age of 60? And nobody will recognize you, give you the importance you're used to, you have no work to do, 65, 70. Your life will be terrible, it will be tragic, you'll be like the withered old people you see around you, discontent, grumbling. You don't want to end up like that. You want to be fully fulfilled, you want to be a source of inspiration to anybody who comes anywhere close to your neighborhood. You don't expect or demand anything from anybody. You are in a state of nirashraya, but you have so much to offer that people just come to you to be in your presence. That's when you have awakened your innermost being. And what are the three beautiful qualities that come out? One is anta sukham. You're no longer dependent on external factors for your happiness. Anta sukham. Second is antar arama. There's an ease of being, regardless of the external circumstance. You're cool. And the third and most important is antar jyoti. You really know with certitude what's the right thing to do in any situation. And it's not intellectual, it's not conscience, it's something much deeper. And to train yourself to connect to that is very important. Then we looked at the whole business of desire through needs, and we looked at modern Western psychology, Maslow's beautiful concept of deficiency needs. And this is, we are always kind of short of something or the other which keeps us hungering, craving for fulfillment of something. Could be trivial, but we think we badly need it and we're driven and we get it. Temporarily we are satiated, then again some new need. It's a hydra, multi-headed dragon that's inside us. We're always in a sense of deficiency, and the path of prayers actually makes us move in this direction. But if we want fulfillment, we need to go to higher needs, feel self-actualized, and that's a path of Shreyas. So these concepts of prayers and Shreyas are crucial. And you know that the default path in the world is the path of prayers. And that's why we go after pay packages and this and that, not reflecting. You really don't need too much to feel content at a material level. And here is where you feel abundance. And abundance is not something we acquire, it's something we tune into. It's an attitude. And it's then that you begin to understand the power of nishkama karma, which is actually initially ununderstandable at this level. So how can you do something without asking for the fruit of action? So we moved on to gunas in jnana, karma, karta, buddhi, dhriti, sukha, and we looked at the purification and transformation of gunas. So one of you asked me that throughout the book you have extolled the virtues of being sattvic, but why are you saying sattva is not the true goal of integral karma yoga? It is not. In traditional religions it is, but not in integral karma yoga, not in Indian spirituality. Traditionally, a man must be the best he can, which is as sattvic as possible, morally upright, can become a saint. But that's not the purpose of the Gita. That's not the purpose of integral karma yoga. The potential that we have is much more. You are not a human being actually. Who are you? You're actually a divine being in human form. There's a completely different understanding. You're not just a human being who can discover some goodness in you. You're actually a divine being in human form. The antaratma in you is divine. There's a divine fire in you. When you wake up to that, everything changes. That's when you get into para prakriti. So that says that you don't be too much obsessed about increasing your guna percentage to say 75, 80, 90. Need not. Once you cross 50, you're ready. But then that quality of sattva will keep refining the rajas and tamas in you. And so tamas gets transformed into shama. Rajas gets transformed into tapas. You don't waste your energy. And sattva itself gets transformed into the light of jyoti. Then we looked at then you have the potential to manifest yourself as a divine being, as a vibhuti in the world. You'll surely make a mark wherever you go. So there's a difference between the avatar and vibhuti. We discussed this at length. Then we introduced the topic of Bhakti Yoga. We were here. We said the Jnani Bhakta is the highest type of Bhakta. The problem with conventional bhakti is we kind of mix up over-sentimentalism with spirituality. It's not. In fact, you'll be stunned to know what are the qualities of the bhakta that the divine appreciates, which brings down divine grace. So we'll look into that. And the final supreme teaching is what